What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm an addict, and my sobriety date is July 13th, 2015. And welcome to our regularly scheduled programming. Every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, you guys, I do a MERA meeting, which is Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous. So before we get started, I want you guys to all come in, greet your neighbor, and I am going to go ahead and read the MERA International preamble, and then we will welcome Andrew, because Andrew's going to come on today, you guys, and share about his recovery and his experience with Vivatrol, which I know a lot of you guys ask about Vivatrol sometimes, and I want to show all different sides of recovery. So this is a side of recovery where he is actually using Vivatrol. So let me go ahead and read this, and then we'll get Andrew on the live stream with us. So, Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous. One size does not fit all. Do you use medications such as methadone, naltrexone, Suboxone, buprenorphine, Antipuse, and Camprosate, Paxil, Remeron, Bupropion, Gabapentin, Baclofen, Topiramate, Topamax, that is prescribed and approved by the medical community to treat various drug and alcohol use disorders? Many addicts and alcoholics that are utilizing evidence-based science to aid in their recovery sometimes feel unwelcome. Here at Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous, aka MERA, you're always welcome. Recovery is simply to recover from an unsafe lifestyle. Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous is a support group of people who believe in the value of medication as a means to recovery. We understand that our individual needs may not be the same, our backgrounds may not be the same, and our futures may not be the same. However, our desire to live a safe lifestyle joins us together. And this is my favorite part. Non-judgment is our code. So, for those of you guys that are like, MERA, I've never even heard of MERA. I'm going to tell y'all, you can go on MERA, which is M-A-R-A, international.org, and you can go to their front homepage right there, and they are actually having Zoom meetings. See that red line where it says click here for online Zoom meetings? So you guys can find a meeting anywhere. I mean, there's meetings all over the place. We're having meetings here every night. They're doing meetings with MERA on Zoom. Merck is facilitating Zoom meetings from the Discord, y'all. So if you're struggling and you're like, I don't have any support, I can't get in hold of anybody, or I just don't know what to do, you can. And there's so many different options out there. So utilize the information that we're sharing here on the channel, and don't just sit there at the house and be like, I don't know what to do. Listen to what I'm saying and know that if you need support, all you got to do is text me on the Real Talk Recovery phone number, and I will shoot you in the right direction. Okay. All right. Andrew's backstage, so I'm going to pull him up here with me, you guys, and I want y'all all to welcome Andrew and give him a big fat Real Talk Recovery welcome. And here we go. Hey, what's up?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, cool. Hold on. I want to mute my phone so that way it doesn't go off while we're talking and stuff. All right. Damn. Come on now, Nicole. There we go. All right. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me.
Are you excited?
Yeah, of course. You know, beautiful day and night here in New York.
Oh, is it nice there? Is it sunny outside?
Yeah, it rained all day, and then it got sunny at like 7 o'clock. So
that's what's up. Okay, yeah. So this is what I want you to do, Andrew. First of all, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about your YouTube channel, and I want you to know that we will link your channel in the description, and we'll link it in the comments, and I'm going to link it in the chat while you're sharing. So kind of just start out and share with us a little bit about like what it was like when you were growing up, and then kind of shift into how you got into your addiction, and then what you're doing now to stay sober. And you got about an hour to talk, so if you take the lead, and if I have any questions, I'll just ask you, okay?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I had a pretty normal childhood. So basically, I grew up at 5 years old, my dad declared bankruptcy. But from then on, he started his own business, and we moved from bigger house to bigger house to bigger house. And my life was good. Everything was good. I played sports, went to Disney World once or twice a year, had like an ideal childhood. And when I was 13, my parents got divorced. My dad moved out. I was in this like huge house with just my mom. She was like devastated with the whole thing, which is, I think, really had the impact of my addiction. But from like 13 on, you know, everything was still good. I mean, I had some issues deep down I never worked on, but, you know, high school, I played sports, hung out with like the so cool kids, quote unquote, which doesn't mean shit now, but, you know, and did well. I went away to school. I was in college. I went upstate New York, UAlbany, graduated with honors. I partied a lot. You know, I drank a lot. I did a lot of coke, but like it was never a problem. It was just a college type thing. And after that, I graduated college 2012 because I'm 30 now. And I left college, didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I wound up living overseas. I lived in Israel for 7 months.
Oh,
and,
wow. Why'd you go to Israel?
Awesome. Well, the perks of being Jewish, you get to go for free. So
really?
Yeah, that was actually it's called birthright. Like you literally can be like a quarter Jewish and they'll pay for everything. I went in January before I graduated. I graduated in May. So there was another program. You just had to go once a week in college to this like little Jewish meeting. It was stupid, but like you would get hooked up with free food, and in college that's super valuable. And because instead of eating ramen noodles, and yeah, they paid for a 2-week trip. So I wound up, we went on the trip. I wound up meeting an Israeli girl, like fell in love with her practically. So I wound up extending my trip. I got a job. I was in really good shape. Then I got a job as a bouncer at a bar. Only bouncer without a gun in his back pocket because everybody's got guns in there. Literally letting people in. Yeah, I would ID people, and they would be walking in with an AK-47 on their chest, and you just let them in the bar. Crazy stuff. Yeah, a lot of fights too. But so I did all that, had a good time, but I had to come home because I was kind of winging it. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was looking for jobs. You know, my dad was in sales. That's what he was really good at. And I had the same type of personality, like the salesman personality. So I got a job at a car dealership right by me. It was a Honda dealership, one of the biggest in the country, like a really good opportunity. I got hired as 60 people. So fast forward, that's like early 2013. And I'm doing great, killing it. Like at 22 years old, having like $10,000-$12,000 months, like new car, new apartment, had everything I could want, girlfriend, like all my friends still in my life, you know, from college. And then this kid got hired, and he always looks like fucked up, you know? Am I allowed to curse or no?
Yeah.
Okay. He was, I don't know, some people, you know, with YouTube. But so I wound up talking to him, and I had friends that were hooked on Roxy's at that point, like bad, and I had been around it. But I tried it before. I would do like a quarter, like once every 6 months, and I didn't really like it. And you know, they were like hooked deep, and that was when they were super cheap. So they were all selling them. They were involved in like a lot of stuff before heroin was even in the picture in my town. Like the town I'm from is a nice town, you know, like it's, I'm not going to say I grew up in like some ghetto. Like it was a nice town. Like there's money in that town. It's a small town, and I was never handed anything, but that's just where I was, you know. I grew up, like I said, my dad, he got wealthy, but I couldn't get $20 from him if I asked because he was self-made, so he never wanted to give me anything. But so like even with college, he had to pay for that because it was part of the divorce agreement. Like everything he did was part of stuff written on paper. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't out of the goodness of his heart. So like that was always an issue that I think led up to the addiction, but I'll get into that. But
did you get to hang out? Did you and your dad like see each other after your parents got divorced, or did he stay away?
Well, he cheated on my mom with who's my stepmom now, and that's 17 years later. So imagine that, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was
you off, huh?
I literally slept on my mom's floor while she was like devastated for 2 weeks. It sucked but it also made me realize like I would never ever cheat in a relationship just because I saw what it does to the girl on the other end. You know what I mean?
How did that make you feel having your dad do that to your mom? How did you feel towards your dad?
like betrayed, you know what I mean? Because it's not just him doing it to her, it's him doing it to the family. I have a younger brother, he's
Right.
28, and you know, that was when I was 13, so that's like puberty prime time, like growing up, you know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was, and like when you have a bar mitzvah, Jewish people, like when you're 13, to celebrate like becoming an adult or whatever, and like that was awkward because she was there at my bar mitzvah while the whole affair was going on. So just like it hit me hard, but I never like dealt with the emotions. I let it build up for years and years.
Yeah.
So it sucked. Yeah, it was terrible. But I mean, this story gets crazier than my dad. I'll tell you that. But I mean, fast forward to at the dealership, and then I wound up talking to this kid, and I said, "Can you get me a Roxy?" Right? And he gets it for me, charges me whatever. I had so much money, I didn't care what it cost because I just wanted to do it. One thing led to another. I did one a week, then it was two a week, and you know how it goes. And then it became like an everyday thing, but I didn't think I had a problem. Like I thought I was just, because I was already good at sales, not to be like cocky or anything, but that feeling put me to like the next level. You know how the opiate feeling is. Like it's the first time, especially. Like, and you get that for the first couple months that you're doing it before you really have the problem. And
So you were good at sales, and then it made you even like, I know what you're talking about. You're like on it. You're like calling
oh my
people,
god, yeah,
and you're like making it, and you're like, wow, these pills are like really up in my game. You know,
it
like
was crazy.
yeah,
There's just I function fine on them, you know what I mean? But even if I was doing whatever and I needed, because the thing too, I always had money and I could always get it. It wasn't like fast forward to heroin where I had to figure out how to get money. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I always had money, and I still was living at home with my mom's because I was still only 22. So I was like saving money. Like I had like 10, 20 grand at 22 saved up. So it's, you know, a good amount of money. And fast forward to me doing it for 2, 3 months. When I found out I had a problem was when I booked a trip to Vegas with a buddy of mine from the dealership. We were both young, making a lot of money. They said, "Okay, let's go to Vegas." Like we've never been. Like biggest mistake you could ever make with Vegas is going for more than 2 nights, 3 nights. We went for 5 nights, and I didn't plan ahead because I had no idea about drug withdrawals or anything like that because I just wasn't involved in that life at all. And I brought like enough pills for the first 2 days. And we were also drinking. I was like sniffing Adderall, like a lot of shit. And then after 24 hours not having it, I think it was when I woke up, like the 3rd day, and that's after being sunburned, like drinking. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was freaking out, like, and still I didn't put it together that it was the pills. You know what I mean? I didn't. So my friend was so mad at me because I literally could not get out of bed for like a day and a half. And like it only really lasted a day and a half, I guess, because I hadn't been doing it that long. And then like the last day I went out, like I couldn't even get out of bed. Like I would get dizzy, like I was puking, like it was terrifying. And then when I knew I had the issue was when I got back from Vegas, and the first thing I did was call the guy who has the pills, you know, because they're so easy to get back then. And I literally grabbed so many. And as soon as I did it and like I felt better, I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? But still didn't care, you know. I didn't like it wasn't it's hard to admit you have a problem, you know, especially when your life is going really well. So I kept going like that, you know, until I spent all my money. And that was like 2 years later, 2.5 years later, when I was like 25, 26. And one of my friends from high school who had started with the Roxy said, "Yo, why don't you try heroin?" I'm like, heroin? Like me? No, like I'm above that shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm upper class with the pills.
Right.
And like from there, I remember I did like the first bag and I'm like, oh shit, like this is bad. Like in a good, you know what I mean? Like, cause he's like, dude, this bag is, well, he was overcharging me because he knew if he got me on it, he could make money and support his own habit, which I found out years later. But I would do the bag, whatever, and I would go through him, and I was sniffing it, and like even with sniffing it, I was still somewhat able to function. Fast forward, now we're in 2016. It got so bad so quick, even with just sniffing it. I wound up, they knew at the job that something was off. Like, they didn't know with the pills, but they knew with when I was doing the dope. Like, you know, that was before fentanyl too. So like, it was really just straight heroin, like where I could make it last and stuff like that. But I wound up in the same week, they wound up firing me. I got my car repoed, and I was like, fuck, what do I do now? And my buddy who lives in San Diego said, listen, like, if you can get off the shit there, you can come here and stay with me for a couple weeks until you figure out what you're going to do. So I said, that was a Monday, and I was at San Diego on a Friday. I just dropped everything here. Well, I had run up every credit card because, you know, when you're making money like that, they offer you so much credit when you're younger just to screw you, the banks. So I ran,
the same way, man. I charged $60,000 worth of debt on credit cards. Like, I would go and buy my dope dealer like a big screen TV and bring it in like, hey.
I did all that.
I had to file bankruptcy because I'm debating that. I did so much credit card debt from drugs.
It's crazy. I moved there and I was clean. I'm not going to say sober because I was drinking and doing other shit, but I was clean from opiates. Like, felt great, got my personality back again. Like, met San Diego. I was in the literally a block from the beach. It was just, it also helped me staying clean because I could just walk to the beach. Like, I wouldn't be in my thoughts. I wouldn't be stuck inside. Like, I had a lot of friends there because everybody was close. And like, it was so expensive though. And I really just, like I said, I kind of winged it and didn't really plan because I just needed to get out of here. And then I had to come back. And it's basically up until 62 days ago, it's been, it was an absolute shit show, disaster, worst for 3-4 years of my whole life. 2 years ago, I started shooting it, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made, ever, because it's really hard to come back from that. You know, it's just a different world. You know what I mean?
It's a totally different world. It's an addiction all in itself, the needle.
Yeah, just the process of doing it, you know? So I even, like, still look at spoons, and, like, it still makes me think about shit. Like, not, like, I don't want to do it, but, like, I'll see, like, a certain type of spoon and, like, think about, you know what I mean? Which is crazy, but...
Oh, I know what you mean, man. If I find a spoon in my drawer that's, like, bent a little bit, I'm like, oh, hell, and I have to, like, bend it back, you know? Because it just, like... I used to have all my spoons used to be like, you know, that. And you would pick them up to eat cereal with it and be like...
so bad. But, I mean, it took me, well, I'll fast forward to now, but I lost everything again. I couldn't hold a job. And I have a really good resume, so I would get good jobs. And I couldn't hold anything because when you're using, it's just, I would be sick, like... And the one thing, like, I've always had a license. I mean, it's been suspended a couple times, but I've always had a car. Like, I only didn't have a car for like 4 or 5 months after the repo. And, you know, I would always find a way to make drug money, or I was literally, like, you look at me, like, I was literally transporting like kilos of drugs for dealers, transporting guns, like doing a lot of illegal shit, like a lot. And had guns put in my face, like just situations looking back that, you know, it was a blur. I went to, in that time from 2016 to the end of 2019, between like outpatient, inpatient, and detoxes, it's got to be like 17, 18 programs. Like, it's just nothing that I did was enough to want to stop. And then I was destroying my mom, like she, you know, because I moved back in with her when I came back from San Diego, and she just saw me just deteriorating. I was borrowing money, screwing people over, everything that an addict does. And, you know, in the moment, not giving a shit, because it was just about how am I going to be unsick? How am I going to get my fix? And then moving forward, what am I going to do the next day? And it was just, I would have the worst dealers, be waiting, sick, be throwing up in the park. It was just such a bad process. And then, it was 63 days ago, because I've been clean 62 days. And I wound up meeting like a new person. Like, it was like the second time, and he said, "Oh, I have the best." You know, they all say they got the best drugs, the best shit. Of course, yeah, okay. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then when he gave it to me, like, not to get too into detail, but I looked at it, it was like straight white. I'm like, dude, did you give me Coke? Like, what is this? He's like, no, it's fire. So I'm in a McDonald's parking lot. I do my thing, and I literally woke up 20 minutes later, like half dead. But I was 40 minutes away from my house and drove back to my house, which I shouldn't have done. And then I went to do the next shot, did a little tiny bit. I'm talking like sprinkles, like nothing. And woke up like where I am now, just looking forward in my living room with cops, EMTs there, like, and my mom was in the other room. So, you know, you think you would learn from that, right? Like they took me to the hospital, all this stuff. They asked me where the drugs were. In New York, they're not, I don't know how it is in other states, but if you overdose in New York, you can't get in trouble. They can't take your drugs. If you call to help somebody, it's the Good Samaritan law, it's called. You can't get in trouble. They changed that. They did that because people were afraid to call if, you know, they were in the situation with drugs.
Right.
And so I hid the drugs, you know, like any addict would do, because in my mind it's like, yeah, I just overdosed, but I'm going to be sick, you know, especially with the Narcan and shit. And the second I left the hospital, I got back and I did it again. And this time I woke up and the same thing. Hours later, cops, EMTs again in my house. But this time I didn't even know like where I was, who I was. I couldn't even stand. Like I was like really messed up from it, like really scary. And I wound up finding out that like I was in my bed and my mom, who was in the other room, like somehow just opened the door to do something. And she heard me like, when you overdose, you start like getting, you know, and like, yeah, where you're like and turning blue, like struggling to breathe.
It's that rattle. It's the dope rattle.
It's crazy.
You're like there's like friction. You're not breathing. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, oh.
And like I've seen it a million times. It's so scary, but it's like you don't care about any of that when you're using. It's so crazy. And like like my car was like called the overdose car because literally I think 10 people overdosed in my front seat. I've had Narcan people. I've had to wait for the cops. I've been in so many situations, like, and you just think you would learn. I've totaled cars. I've had near-death experiences, and nothing was enough. But what really made it to be enough at this point was, okay, like you're gonna die. Like your mom just saved your life. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You're 30 years old. Like you have all this potential. You've done all this. You're just wasting away. And I had to really think, and I said, you know, like, well, we'll get into like I tried the Suboxone, tried the methadone, it didn't work for me, and I had been wanting to get the Vivatrol shot for months, but you know, you have to be like everything out of your system for, they all say different times, but say 7 to 10 days. That's hard as hell.
Yeah, I've heard 7 days. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so I wanted to be safe for like 10 days, so I wound up going to detox, which I had been every month, like the past 3 months. They knew me there by first and last name, like, oh, welcome back. It's fucking so embarrassing. But that's so many people have been there so many times. And I'm like, you know what? Like, you know, in this detox, they do like the Subutex taper. And then if you want to stay on maintenance, they'll like put you on the 16 milligrams and it's like a 4-day process. But I was like, I don't want anything. Like, I'm going to go through this and just deal with this because I just want to get this Vivatrol shot. And like, I'm not saying it could be a miracle drug, but from what I heard, it really, really works. And so I went to detox. And I was coming off fentanyl, which is just, well, like I literally had a dream that I was throwing up and woke up throwing up on myself. Like it was that bad. But after like 4 days, like, I was supposed to go to the rehab at this place and they didn't have any beds. So in my mind, it's like, oh yes, I don't have to go to rehab now. Still kind of with those crazy thoughts, you know? Yeah. But my mom's like, yeah, you don't have anywhere to live if you don't go to rehab. So she called like a bunch of places. I wound up going to this other rehab, but I've been so many times. I mean, don't take my advice in this. It's just, I didn't stay for the whole thing. I stayed until I can get the Vivatrol shot because I knew what I had to do. You know, when you go that many times to rehab, you can only learn so much. First, second time, I learned a lot, but when it gets a little repetitive, when you've been there a million, you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I was the kind of person that after like the first or second time, I was so versed, like I could recite the big book to you with my eyes closed, standing on my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's the same thing that they're teaching. It's just that we weren't applying it in our lives.
Yeah, if you're not ready to stop, then they can tell you, they can like wave a magic wand and nothing is going to work. But I was truly ready. I mean, I went there to get everything out of my system. That's why I went there, because I couldn't do it on my own. There's no way. And they could have gave me the Vivitrol shot there, but I would have had to stay for 30 days, and this place was so miserable. I said, absolutely, absolutely not. And so I have insurance, and I already had it ordered for my private doctor, so it was already there. So like I was like set up like good. I stayed until I could get it. I wound up leaving, but I couldn't get it till the next day. So I knew that that night was going to be the test, like because I can never last like a day at a rehab without using it. It was pathetic. I'm like, all right, like if I don't use tonight, like I'm good. Like this is it. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't use. It was hard for sure because you still, you know, only 7-10 days sober. Like you still, you know, you're still not really feeling that good. And then the next day, like I went and got the shot, and it's been literally a lifesaver. Like,
what was the shot? Okay, first of all, because you know a lot of people here are on Suboxone, so I want to know what happened when you got on Suboxone. Why wasn't it? Why didn't that work out? Tell me about that first.
As far, I was on and off for like 3 years, like so it was a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Suboxone. So I've had experience with every dose, everything, and it just, well, first of all, what I was telling you is I like money a lot, like we all do, and there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of demand for Suboxone, especially on Long Island, because you have a lot of like wealthier moms who kind of hide their addiction to their families.
I was born in West Islip, so that's where my dad.
Right there, I'm hunting. Yeah, you're right there.
My whole family's there. And then when you said Jewish, my grandma is Jewish, so I'm like a quarter or something like that. My dad, that's where my grandma lives. She lives in Long Island, and then my uncle Joey, and that's my whole dad's side of the family lives there.
Oh, so you know
and then
what it's
my
like
mom's side
over
of the
here.
family lives in California. So
yeah, so there's an epidemic on Long Island with the drug. You combine money, boredom, and towns that were nice at one point are straight up. It's just really, really bad. They're straight up. I can't even describe it just from seeing it when I was younger. But so you have these people. They, you know, like the first time I got the script, I literally went on Craigslist and typed in Suboxone, and there was like 3 people who posted ads saying they needed Suboxone, and I was broke. So I wound up hitting them up. They were all middle-aged people, and they became my customers. So what I would do, so I took the dose for whatever, I think my doctor prescribed me like 16 milligram or 8, something high, too high. But the problem is I would be like thinking ahead to the next day and like already planning in my head, okay, I'm just not going to take the Suboxone today. Like it was just too easy to not take it.
Yeah.
Was I not ready? Maybe. But like, if you're giving yourself a big responsibility to do that every day to stay clean, you know, like if you take it, great, it works like 100%. But I would just, maybe because I didn't work on inner issues right away, whatever it may have been, but I tried it. I played around with it because, you know, you could play around with it. You could take a little bit in the morning and still get high at night. I would take some in the morning. I would like shoot up 2-3 hours later sometimes. It was almost like I was like testing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. You were manipulating the medication to your, and listen, I know millions of people that do that. And for when I got on Suboxone, my son was in foster care and I was desperate. You know what I mean? I was like, I've got to do something or my son's going to get taken away from me forever. So it was just like the perfect, it was like, okay, I got that. And then I went straight into therapy and I got a sponsor and started going to AA. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. You know, I didn't have time to even think about it. But if I had tried to get on it, like maybe 5 years earlier than that, I would have been doing the same thing. I would have been selling it, trading it, because I wouldn't have had my son. So I wouldn't have cared. You know what I mean?
You know what? Yeah, I agree with that. But you know what the thing was too, was because we talked about this, like obviously if, you know, you were going to get sick to get off of them, it's just a reality of it, whether it's however you do it, taper, whatever, maybe you're still going to feel the effects. Like I didn't want to take a heavy dose because I was afraid that I would never be able to get off. And, you know, looking back at it, it's like I compare it to like, okay, like I said, I consider that clean and sober. Like, I don't care what people say at NA or whatever. Like, that's, you're not sticking a fucking needle in your arm. You're not robbing people for shit. Like, you're not doing that on Suboxone. You know what I mean? Like, people have heart problems. They have to take medication the rest of their life. Like, I'm on certain medication for like psoriasis. I have to do an injection every 2 weeks. I have to do it for the rest of my life for like clear skin. You know, it is what it is.
I have psoriasis too. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I have it on my really bad on my knees, man, and it like started breaking out after I got sober because when I was in my addiction,
same. Yeah, same.
Isn't that
when
weird?
I was in San Diego is when it happened. But if you ever seen the commercials for Humira, it's the injection. I have to take that every 2 weeks. It's $180,000 a year if I didn't have insurance, almost $200,000 a year. So I have to stay on Medicaid.
See, you're lucky. You're very fortunate that you have that insurance because so Suboxone, tell me about the Vivatrol. Okay, so you got on Vivatrol. How did you get on it? How did you know about it? What did the doctor do? How did they put it in your butt, in your stomach? What?
All right, so I knew about it in a messed up way because my dealer who was dealing was actually on it and he was doing great and he had the drugs literally right in front of him all the time and he was clean the whole time. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, monkeys can't sell bananas, you know what I mean? Like, how is that possible? So I wound up talking to him. I mean, not the best person to get advice from, but you know, he said it works, it's amazing. And then I wound up talking to somebody else. He had done it 5-6 times, so you get it once a month. They say to get it once every like 25 days because it wears off 25-30 days. So I had spoken to the beautiful thing about my doctor. I mean, but the bad thing is I peed dirty so many times and they kept prescribing me Suboxone. So I got the Vivatrol at the same place I was getting the Suboxone for 2 years. I would come up with a new story every time as to why I peed dirty, like literally every time. And they were still giving it to me, you know?
Why they do that is because they want to give you a chance, you know? With maintenance medication, it's really about the harm reduction, and they'd rather have you there coming in and getting that medication than kicking you out and then you go overdose and die. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's where a lot of the doctors come from, because when I was going to my Suboxone doctor, they were doing the same thing with this young lady that was coming in, and she was always coming into the meetings high on heroin. And I was like, why aren't we doing something? I was so upset. I was so worried for her. And they were like, Nicole, we want to see her. And at least she's coming in here and we're able to see her, you know, and maybe there's something that we will say or something will change where we can get through to her. But it was scary because she would come in and we would all be trying to stay sober and she would be falling asleep in her seat sitting next to us, you know?
Yeah,
so I feel like there's like a lot of kind of kinks that need to be worked out and stuff, but that's like, just like they say in a regular 12-step meeting, you know, they say that's the best place for that person to be is in there, even if they are high, you know, because we want them to stay and be encouraged and feel like they have a place to be, you know?
Yeah, I mean, before I go on the Vivatrol, with that being said, like, I personally think because so many people abuse them and sell them, what they really should do for like the first month is have you come in like they do with the methadone clinics and have you take it there. You know what I mean? Like, so that you know you're taking it, and instead of just like writing you the script, some places will make you take like the first dose there, some outpatients do that, but a lot of places just give you a month, like your first time, and it's like, you just gave me 60, 90 Suboxone, like you don't know if I'm gonna take them or not, you know, like, so I don't know, they could change that, but I tried that, like the methadone clinic, but I got out of the methadone clinic super quick because the people there were just all using still. It was just a more connection for drugs, and I didn't like the methadone, the whole thing. But so with the Vivatrol, I had tried so many times. I had made up stories to my mom that I was getting the shot like so many times. Like I would pretend to go to the doctor, put like a Band-Aid on my ass and say, yeah, I got the shot. Like ridiculous shit. But it's a huge needle. A lot of people are scared because they say it hurts. I mean, maybe because I get the Humira injection, but I really don't think it hurt. But like I said, you have to be off everything. If you're not off of everything, you will go into worse than precipitated withdrawals from Suboxone, like times 10. My buddy went through it. He supposedly said his doctor said he could still get it. I don't believe him, but he had used like 2 days prior, got the Vivatrol shot, he was like rolling around in his own throw up and diarrhea for a week, like the sickest he's
Oh,
ever been. Yeah, like so you really have to be committed to being off of everything.
what happened when they gave it to you? What did it feel like anything? I mean, like,
No, it's weird. It's a lot in the syringe. It's like a creamy liquid, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. But so the only thing they just because they would drug test for the Suboxone, obviously you have to give a urine every time, but this they don't even say anything because you're on your own. If you use, you're screwed. You know what I mean? Like they don't need to drug test you. Like you're probably not going to get the Vivitrol shot if you use.
what
If you're
happens
smart.
if you use on the Vivitrol shot?
I haven't, so I don't know, but I know people who have just because the mental cravings are. I don't get them, but some people say that they get mental cravings. Nothing will happen at all. You'll break out in red hives, to be honest with you. That's
Oh,
what a
wow.
lot of people, yeah, your skin will break out. But there was one time in the 62 days that I had the dope in front of me because I gave somebody a ride and he had it and put myself in a bad position. And I was about to do it, not shoot up, just sniff it. And I'm like, it's not worth, like, what is this going to do? It's going to break my streak that I have because counting the days is always helpful. And I didn't do it. And, I got the first shot and the only side effects I had was I had like, when you get like that energy buzz from Suboxone, you get like, you go up a little bit, you have energy. Like,
yeah, I know.
When you first started.
When you first started, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got that and it was like, I don't know if it was that and anxiety because literally when I got the first shot, this whole entire thing started happening. So like everything was happening at once, like getting on Vivitrol, this whole freaking pandemic thing. Yeah. So It was just, but I got it. And I had to get off sleeping pills too, because they freaking prescribed me Seroquel the whole time. I was in like 10 days straight of 100 milligrams of Seroquel, which is it's not small, but it's not a lot, you know what I mean? It's like in the middle, and I had to get off that, so I didn't sleep for like 3 days. And but I think the key with it is, you can't use for 25, 30 days. Like, it's not like I have had. I'm being 100% honest. I think I've had like 2 cravings, and to stop the cravings, I just tell myself like, you're not gonna feel anything. You still could overdose because it still messes with your heart, and you're gonna ruin the sobriety time you had. And you're doing so good, and everybody sees the improvement because every family function in the past freaking few years I've been a disaster, whether it was sick or high. Just Thanksgiving was the worst ever, and I'm actually due for my 3rd shot next week. But like they say, it wears off like 25 to 30 days. Like I personally, after the first one, didn't feel like I needed it again. But obviously, family, my mom, like it's kind of mandatory at this point. And for at least like 4 or 5 months. But I really like felt great, like I didn't get it for 35 days. It wears off 25, 30 days. You know what I mean? Like, so I could have got high for 10 days if I wanted to. But it's definitely a miracle. Like we said, the only thing like with stuff like this, like if you don't have insurance, like it's freaking $1,100-$1,200, but
yeah,
you're gonna spend more than that on drugs,
So me and Andrew talked about this earlier today because he was wanting to come on and talk to you guys because he's on the Vivitrol shot, and I'm on Suboxone, so we both have 2. I'm on Suboxone, he's on Vivitrol, so that's 2 examples of 2 people that are working recovery and staying sober, that are utilizing different ends of the spectrum on a maintenance medication. And so the thing that I asked him, I was like, well, how much does it cost? Because when I got on Suboxone, they didn't tell me, I didn't know there was an option to get on Vivitrol. And that's the problem with Vivitrol, is that it's so expensive. And so it's a lot easier for an addict like me to go to my mom and say, hey, Mom, can you pay for my Suboxone doctor's appointment $200 once a month? And then going up to my mama and saying, hey, Mom, I need $1,100 to get this shot, And is that $1,100 every month?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's changing a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, but it's like I was spending $100 a day on drugs.
I'm proud of you, man. Like whatever you, that's awesome. Like I am so proud of you that you are staying sober and that 63 days is a huge accomplishment and you're doing such a good job. You're doing a great job, you know?
Trying. But I
So
mean, there's other things too. You know, I could pick up another drug. You still can get high off anything else. I just don't want to use drugs. Like I put my body through so much, like so many close calls, and it's granted, like you know, you have a while, but like I have, it's 2 months. You know, and with this being isolated and shit, like it definitely doesn't make it easy. But like with what you said, like with my YouTube channel, like I told you, like I do that. So honestly, like if one person watches and they make a different move and don't use or what, I'll be happy. Like I don't really care about, I mean, I care. Yeah. I want subscribers so more people can be helped, but like, I don't really care about that type of stuff. Like I realize that I want to get involved and help people. Like that's what I want to do. And if I wind up making money from YouTube, I told you I'm really going to donate 90% of it to a program that I believe in. I do it. Sometimes I'll watch my videos from a month ago just to see, or 2 months, 3 months, just to see how far I've came. And I started this channel like over a year ago. And if you look at how many times I like had gaps in my videos because I was relapsing and like how bad I look compared to like where I'm at now, it's motivation to keep going, you know? And then even if just one person comments or two and they say, oh, I like the video or this, that, and the third, like I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a great outlet, you know.
yeah, I love doing YouTube. I love just sharing what works for me and being open-minded. And that's the thing, like I want all of us to be able to support each other no matter what pathway to recovery we take, you know? And I feel like what happens, it's easy for us to get caught up in like, well, I did it this way and you did, and this person did it this way. And it's like when we really think about it and we strip apart all those different, you know, how the person got to where they got to get sober. And we're all trying to do the same thing, which is like live a better life, you know, have happy lives, quality of life. And like I have that today, you have that today. You know, we are miracles, you know, we're examples that, you know, recovery is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, this is what I want to say to people, because if you look at where my life was just 2 months ago and how bad it was, like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but like, I'm just going to tell you a couple of things that have happened so far in sobriety that are just like in 2 months, like things that would have never happened. Like I went on, I literally FaceTimed with Will Smith because I went on the Red Table Talk, their show about addiction. Like I wound up, and you know how I got on that show was because of my YouTube videos. When nobody was watching, I was still putting out content. I mean, nobody really watches now, but it's okay. But
they're watching, you just don't know they are.
Well, I know that's, so I randomly got a comment and it was the producer of the show and she said, I liked your video, can you email me? So I wound up going on the show, and that I got a million messages from people like with encouragement. It was awesome. And you know, my job, so it sucks because I kind of lost it because there's no sports, but I work for the Islanders. I'm a writer and an editor, and like I have been doing that for a while, but I had huge gaps in my writing because when I was using, I wasn't doing that. But like in the past month, like I've got to interview like gold medalists, like athletes, like really cool people, stuff that like I'm like dedicating to building my craft. Like that's my passion, writing, interviewing, stuff like that. Like I couldn't even sit down and type a 300-word article like when I was using. Now I'll bang out like 1,000, 1,500 words and like I'll be happy. And like I'm working with local businesses. I'm planning a big event to like for charity with all these businesses that are related to the Islanders and hockey. And like looking back, like I couldn't even really get out of bed. Like I wasn't doing anything. I was so miserable. Like I even said I was so miserable, like that I told my mom, like, I wish you didn't Narcan me because I would have rather died at that point, because my addiction was that I had no money. I had to figure out how to get money. And, you know, I've been working, but one thing, I don't have access to my money, which is okay because it's still early and I don't want that. But, you know, it takes a while to get trust back with stuff like that, you know, and like, gaining relationships back with people that you like really didn't think would trust you again, but they see you're doing the right thing. And like this is only 2 months. Like, I can't imagine 2 years, 20 years. And yeah, like, to anybody watching or who sees this, like, if you're struggling right now, like, the whole world is struggling, and addicts especially. But like, if you're trying to get sober now and you're doing it and you figured out a way, like, a lot of the rehabs are closed here. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but like, if you can get through it now, where this is supposed to be like the pink cloud phase, like where you do the things you weren't doing, right? And like, there's nothing to do. Like, everything's closed. You know what I mean?
So, right now,
yeah.
it's
So like,
time. I know a lot of people. I'm sure. I know just because of my own personal experience. Like, I've been utilizing this outlet of being able to come on here and talk to everybody virtually, because it's just like, I get overwhelmed. My anxiety is up. I'm overly agitated. I feel like we all are, and it's a blessing to be able to come on here and talk with everybody. You know what I'm saying? It helps me to be able to get out here and just share and get it off my chest.
No point of holding anything in, like, I love talking and having, like, even this conversation. Like, it took me literally 15 years to get a therapist. I have a therapist now, a one-on-one. And that's another thing that I was blessed with. My therapist was the doctor who was featured on the show. He's one of America's most famous therapists, and he's working with me for free just because I'm dedicated to getting better. And he saw that from the Red Table Talk, and he's like, I'm going to work with you for 2 sessions for free. After the first session, he's like, I'm going to work with you indefinitely. Like, I think you have a lot of potential. Like, you seem like you want to do the right thing. Just like little things like that, and talking and getting on here and just whatever's on your mind. And like, some people are going to judge you if you're on Suboxone, whatever. Like, maybe they do that because they have their own issues. But like, deep down, we're all addicts, and we all go through the same thing, whether, you're in a mansion or you're living on the fucking street. Like, we all have the same disease, because I think it's a disease. That's what I think. And, it's hard. And this isolation thing, being stuck in your head, like, I literally, exercise has been like my haven. Like, when the gyms got closed, I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? But I've been going outside and exercising and like reading. And it's another thing, I'm giving away that book.
How are you guys doing this? Like, this, I hear people say this, oh, I just love exercising. I'm just exercising all day long. And I'm like,
because you know what? It's just, that's like the only time where like my mind doesn't wander. You know what I mean? Like, I just go run, like, do like the bands, and like, the only thing that sucks, is my sleep schedule. Like, I can't stay up past 10 o'clock, and I wake up at 5 a.m. So I'm up like a lot of the day. And like, the hardest part for me is when I first wake up, because it's like, I'll go on the news and it'll all be negative, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, and like, I was supposed to move back to San Diego on April 3rd. Like, I had everything set up, a job, like everything. And, it's been hard, we all have shit, but I was supposed to literally pick up and move my whole life, start a new job, like newly sober, all this stuff. And like, everything just came crashing down. And it's like a true test to like, am I going to use it as an excuse to go get high or go pick up a different drug? Or am I going to look at it like, all right, like, I don't have control of this, and it's temporary. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have control over any of this. The only thing we have control of is using or not, whether you take your Suboxone or not, whether you want to stay on the right path, whatever it may be. So I used to be like I was a pessimist, and like, I always had like a negative outlook, and like, loved arguing with people. That's probably like the salesman type person, but I don't really have that.
Tell everybody, I'm like, we got to focus on being positive. We got to focus on trying to like, look at what does that be? Try to be grateful for, like, okay, so we're all stuck in the house. Well, look, we can have these recovery meetings where we can share different perspectives and different sides of pathways to recovery. And I wouldn't have been able to do that every single night when I was working my job. I was having to go to my work, so now I can come on here and do this. It's like, I'm trying to find the silver lining,
It's hard. Yeah, it's definitely hard. Well, this is the only time, like, if you work, you're busy, like, whether you're using or not, whatever it may be, like, this is the time you could really sit down and like actually work on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and kind of with the steps, like, you're working on yourself. Like, a lot of people don't like seeing their character defects, but like, in the past 2 months, like, I've realized, like, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I have a lot of defects. Like, I was big time manipulator. Like, I have a lying problem. Like, I'll throw myself under the bus. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But like, I make sure I don't lie about anything, and like, I don't manipulate people now. And I just, instead of arguing with people on Facebook, because I always got in Facebook arguments, especially now.
Too.
I'm staying away because that will get me so mad and so stressed and literally ruin like my moment or whatever, like the morning and night. And I'm like, yo, I cannot do this anymore. Like, so it's just,
I left Facebook for 2 years and came over here and built this channel. And then I was like, I'm never going back. The only reason I go back there is to support the Mara Facebook group, to support the Real Recovery Facebook group, and to just like connect with a couple of people. But I do not stay over there because it's just so much ignorance in one place, and everybody wants to share their ignorant opinion. And so I'm just like, no, I can't take it.
It is, you know, I just think too, like, everybody's behind a keyboard, and, you know, like in a face-to-face convo, or any of these people actually going to say this? No, they're miserable, and they're hiding their own misery, and let them deal with that. Like, I'll be happy. And like, I even see people like posting shit like, you shouldn't be positive and happy during these times. Like, first of all, real quick, like, us addicts, we've been through the worst shit possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if you, so like, yeah, this time sucks, but like, can things get any worse than where our bottom was? Like, I don't personally think so for me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, money is one thing, but
this is nothing but a thing to a drug addict. I mean, I remember being homeless and not having no food to eat. And so it's just like, yeah, we're on lockdown, you guys. We got to stay inside. We can't do what we want to do, but it's like not that big of a deal. We're going to be okay. We're going to be all right. We're going to make it through this time together.
Yeah, you could. I look at the alternative. Like I told you, I've been arrested a couple times, but like, I've never been to prison. I could have, for all the million things I've done, I could have been in prison 100 times. Like, I could be sitting in prison right now with no Netflix, no computer, no YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, I can play video games. I can talk to you. I can have YouTube. It's just, you got to take it how it is. And like, but the one thing, like, I just had this conversation with my mom, like, I don't personally know, like, if I would have used or not if I didn't have the Vivatrol, because of just the situation. I don't know. I don't want to know because I don't have to, because I'm on the Vivatrol. But that's why, like, my plan is, to be honest, to stay on it until I can, like, go back to working not at home and, you know, move forward and move.
Don't worry about getting off of it. Just get the shot for as long. Get the shot until you forget about it. Okay, that's what I tell a lot of people. Will say, like, how do I know when I'm ready to taper Suboxone, Nicole? And I'm like, well, the way I knew I was starting to become ready is that I started forgetting that I was had to take it in the morning. Like, I just was getting to this point where I was like, I just don't know. The only way to explain it is that wasn't at the front of my mind. Like, I got to make sure I get my Vivatrol shot. I got to make sure I take my Suboxone, and just do your thing, you know, do your therapy, do your fellowship meetings that you do or whatever, and just focus on building your foundation in your recovery. And then if you ever decide to get off of it, that's up to you. You can stay on it for the rest of your life. It ain't hurting you.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. You can just stop. There's no withdrawals. It's just, you just stop. You know what I mean? That was one last thing with Suboxone. I was scared because I thought to myself, what if I rebuild my life? I have everything. I have a family, and then I have to get off Suboxone. Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? So that was the thing that scared me too, you know, because I was thinking, I wasn't going day by day. I was thinking like years down the road.
I know. A lot of people that's what I tried. I made a video about that the other day, and I was like, it's okay. Like, I think that when we think about having to get off of a medication, we think, I have to do it in this time. It's like, I have to do it right now, and there's no other way I have to do it. And I'm like, you guys, like, just take your time. Like, if you really want to get off of it, just taper low, just taper so slow. I'm tapering so slow that it's like, I might as well be tapering backwards. I'm going down like 2 milligrams every night.
You're on such a low dose too. Like, I think you'll be okay, you know?
Still, and you know what? I just want everybody to know that I was like, what is recovery to you? You know, recovery to me is having my family back, having my son, having my mom and dad trust me and believe in me, having all you guys want to be here with me and hang out. You know, that's what recovery is to me. Recovery isn't, oh, well, Nicole takes Lexapro, Wellbutrin, and Suboxone.
No, that's judgment. That's not, you know what I mean?
Or Andrew has to get a shot in his butt or else he'll go out and do heroin. You know, like that's not what recovery is about, you know, and I think that we're finally getting to a place with people in recovery and other addicts that we're getting to a place where it's more open-minded and people aren't as judgmental. I feel like it's changing for the better.
Yeah, and you think like you use for years and years, you completely change your brain chemistry. You think you're just gonna be able to go cold turkey and not go on a maintenance at least for a little bit and just stop. Like it doesn't really work like that. Maybe for like 0.001% of people, but like they can't do it by themselves. They have to be in a long-term program to do that where they know they can't use. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like everywhere you go, they recommend maintenance, like everywhere, you know, and there's a reason for that. And also, you know, like if you relapse cold turkey where you didn't use it and you just use a month later, you're probably going to overdose. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of risks. You know, you take you got to find a doctor too that you really do trust and you think has your best interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sound like from what we said that you have that, you know, like I didn't think I personally had that, but you know, the one Suboxone doctor I did have that I really did think he wound up like passing away like a month into my treatment. Yeah, it sucked. He got pneumonia, like completely healthy, and he just died. And the outpatient didn't have a doctor, and I pissed dirty, and they threw me off. They wouldn't prescribe, so disaster. But yeah, I mean, we're living proof. It doesn't matter. I could take Vivatrol, you could take Suboxone, whatever works. It doesn't matter what you're on. You know, like the only thing I take is Vivatrol. I don't, you know, thank God, knock on wood, like I never had any really mental health issues. Like the opiates were just got me to a different place. But you know, I think that I really do this time think that I'm not going to use again, just because every time I got a temptation, like back in the day, like I would just act on it and use and not try to fight it. Now, like I think the whole thing.
It sounds like you're learning how to cope with those temptations now, and you're like retraining your brain to like pause and think before you go and do that kind of stuff. Would you say that being with the therapist that you're talking to now, is that helping with that?
So much, you know, because I have a lot of unresolved issues with my dad. We didn't speak for 5 years. We just started speaking again like a few months ago, and you know, I'm working on all that. I'm working on like the character defects. You know, it's one-on-one. It's not like the meetings are great, but when you're one-on-one with somebody who. And this guy, you know, he knows his stuff and he's written books. He's done a lot of stuff. Like therapists, you just come on his channel, or you can't hold things in because that's just going to be toxic for yourself. And it's, you know, letting it out. And yeah. And the one thing that I do, the couple times I had urges, I wrote down the pros of using and the cons of using. And there was like no pros at all. They were all cons. The pros were, there was none actually, because I wasn't even gonna get high because I would have been, you know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
You have to put in the work.
Good job, man.
I'm trying, you know. It's hard, definitely hard, but I'd rather be this than using. And I would definitely not want to be using during this lockdown whole thing where the drug prices are going up. You don't know who's touched it, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll just day by day.
From a batch of heroin.
That would really be the way to go out. Imagine.
Oh Lord. Well, listen, I want you to know that everybody's saying that they went over to your channel, so I've been sharing the link in the comments.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing about being on Vivatrol, because I've never had anybody come and share about. I think maybe somebody spoke about it one time. But, you know, I want everybody to know that we support you no matter what your pathway to recovery is. And I wanted to have Andrew on to share that with you guys. And I hope that it helped anybody out there that's struggling. And if you need any support, you know where to find us. And go ahead and tell us about, you have social media, Instagram, Facebook, any of that you want to plug before you leave?
The only thing I really do is YouTube, but I do want to plug one thing. So listen, if you guys go to 2 videos ago, this book helped save me. It's Russell Brand's book. Can you see it? Recovery.
Hold on.
I'm giving this away. Oh, no way.
I
All you guys, I'm
We love this
literally,
shit.
yeah. Whoever doesn't have it, just comment, and I'm just picking somebody random, and I'm gonna send it to you, and you can read it. It's the best book ever, literally. He's the man. If you need motivation, watch Russell Brand. He's the shit. So
Man.
yeah, just go to my YouTube, and that's it.
And what I'm proud of you, man. And one more thing. What was I going to say? Y'all go subscribe to Andrew's channel. And also, at the beginning of your videos, I don't know if anybody told you this, but whenever I come on, it's like real low, and then it goes.
Yeah, well, I know I gotta fix that.
Okay, I just wanted.
I gotta work on my my production skills.
That, on the phone, but I love you. I'm really proud of you, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Just reach out to me and come hang out with us on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, because we're always here.
You've been the most supportive YouTuber I've reached out to, so I really do appreciate that.
Anytime, man. Take it easy. Y'all go subscribe to Andrew's channel. I'll talk to you later. Okay, let me see. Okay. All right, you guys. I hope y'all enjoyed Andrew. He's such a nice guy. Very just chill, and I don't know a lot of people that utilize Vivatrol as their form of maintenance medication, but I do know a couple of people that had utilized it. And so I wanted to have him on to just share what that experience was like for him. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this stream, and then I'm going to pop back on, and we'll just have a chill talk time with you guys. Okay. So let me end this because I don't want to, I want his story to go up, and I'll be right back. So give me 2 seconds.